Aspire Sports Show. I'm your host, Tyler, and I'm here with Giggs. And Giggs has his camera. Say hi, Giggs. Exciting times here at Aspire.
Hey
We're
folks, I can't. I'm
operating.
so glad I'm finally here and I can show face. Put a name to a face. Put a voice to a face, huh?
Exactly. So I'm reporting live from Lincoln Field here. Quite the game we had here. Make sure if you like this content, like, subscribe, share it with your friends. We'd really appreciate it. Thank you for watching, and let's go ahead. So we're just going to kind of recap the game here. First thing I want to say is that DeSean Jackson already hurt. What a surprise! I mean, he lasted a whole half, and he's probably going to be out for months. So if you have DeSean, like, seriously, just get rid of him. You don't need him because wide receiver. They have a new wide receiver there in Philadelphia. And Giggs, go ahead because I know you want to talk about him.
New receiver in Philadelphia. Fulgham? You talking about my boy from Detroit?
Is that where he's from?
He was drafted by Detroit a few years back. He never really made it. I think that's when we had Jermaine Kearse on the team. We all know how that went. But yes, Fulgham, I think him and Carson Wentz, they've got the chemistry. And I think Fulgham's a legit player now. I think he's averaging over 15 points, 14 points a game fantasy-wise. I think they got the chemistry. They're clicking, and you can't bank on any of these Philadelphia receivers staying healthy. So I think he might be the guy going forward, to be honest.
I agree. I mean, he was in my. I try to tell people in my buy segment. Like, obviously, he's not like a buy low person, but I feel like some people were like, okay, they're getting Alshon back, DeSean back. You know, there's going to be other weapons. No, like, he's the guy, and he showed the report. And now it's 3 games in a row with with more than double-digit targets for him. So definitely, I think he's here to stay, and he looks really good as well. I mean, he made that one catch on the sideline. It was kind of like a back shoulder, but he kind of turned around a little bit. It was a really nice catch. I thought it was, and that's like the kind of catches that you want to see good wide receivers make, like athletic, in traffic type of catches. And he definitely does look good. So
And those are the type of catches that gain trust with their quarterback too.
Yeah,
then they know I can throw you the ball, you're going to go up and get it. So that's a big thing for, the quarterback wide receiver trust.
Right. 100%. So let's go ahead and talk about just the game in general. I mean, what do you think going forward for Philadelphia here? Do you think they're now the favorites to win the NFC East? What's their outlook in your opinion?
Well, in my opinion, a team that goes 6-10 might make the playoffs because of that division. But realistically, Philadelphia, they're probably the team to come out. I think losing Dak Prescott in Dallas, that's probably going to be the Achilles heel for that team. I don't doubt that Andy Dalton can't do a good job. It's just if Philly finally gets healthy, they start getting their weapons back. And with Fulgham emerging as a good weapon, Greg Ward's looked pretty decent. I think Philly can make it in from that division. I think they're now in first place, which is crazy because they're 2-4-1. But yeah, I think this is a really, really big game for Philly. What's not good though is they only won by 1 point. So
the Giants definitely blew that one. They're up. What was it, 21 to like 10 with 5 minutes to go or something? They blew that game. It's pretty pathetic there, Giants. I mean, really, the Giants, this game wasn't pretty by any means. I don't even want to say that they look good, but the issue is just like Daniel Jones has no time. And you can see that tonight. He's constantly being pressured. And I will say this, though. I do think that Sterling Shepard coming back definitely helps out the offense. He's a good player. He's just never on the field, unfortunately. He's one of those people that's kind of always banged up as well. But when he's on the field, he definitely makes a difference in that offense, and I think he showed it tonight. And I think it just kind of opens it up for everybody as well, because then you also have Evan Ingram probably having his best game of the year. Now it is only, I think, only had like 40 yards or something, but still, I think he had like 6 catches, so a little bit more involved. Eagles also giving up points to the tight end, but as a whole, it was Thursday night football, and it wasn't the prettiest, but at least it was exciting at the end. They made it exciting, so that's always a big thing as well on Thursday night. Any other players that you want to talk about? I know you kind of said you want to talk about Daniel Jones as well, so go ahead.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones, he went 20 for 30, 187, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Obviously, he had that amazing run. He's like Lamar Jackson 2.0. But no, I think overall, I know that rush kind of saved his fantasy day, but we've kind of seen the worst of Daniel Jones. I like to imagine. Like the team's been banged up. They don't have Barkley. Finally, Sterling Shepard came back. I mean, he just hasn't had all of his pieces there. And I would like to think that the worst is behind him. Second half of the season last year, he looked pretty good. I think Daniel Jones is only going to get better the rest of the year. They have no one else to go to. And if Devontae Freeman didn't get hurt this game, even though Wayne Gallman did look pretty good, especially in the receiving game when Freeman went out. But I just feel like their weapons aren't that bad, even without Barkley. It's just that O-line. If
Yeah.
that guy had time, I think they would be doing a lot better. I think Slade played really good against Slayton, which is his bailout go-to guy. But I think going forward, they're going to be just fine.
I agree. I think I think the same, and hopefully they can just keep upgrading that offensive line for him because it is tough. Let's talk about that real quick because you did touch on Freeman. Now I don't know how serious the injury is, but going forward, do you think that people should consider, picking up Gallman? How high? I guess right now in a lot of leagues he could probably already be picked up because it is Thursday night football, and I think in a lot of leagues you can still pick them up on Thursday night. So, but say it's locked until the weekend. How high of a priority ad is he in your opinion?
Um, I think any starting running back with no competition is good. So if it's only Dion Lewis, Galvin, I'd like to think Galvin would be at least a 60%,
Yeah.
share of the carries, targets, whatever. So if you were to miss an extended period of time, you're hurting in running back, he might be a RB3 flex position player. But it's tough. They don't have an offensive line. They haven't really looked good. Barkley didn't even look that great with that offensive line. So
Right.
it's tough. I would say if you have someone like J.D. McKissick out there, go snag him over someone like Gallman. I don't have that much faith going forward, even though he had kind of a strong performance after Freeman went down.
I agree. I think the offense just is pretty bad, but at the same time, like you said, any kind of starting running back or at least is going to have a decent amount of touches in the backfield is worth adding and worth a bench spot because you never know. Maybe something happens with Dion Lewis and then he just takes over the backfield and you have somebody who's sure the offense isn't great, but getting like 16 touches a game. So definitely some value. So we'll see how the weekend plays out. Maybe there's somebody else that gets hurt and somebody else is a higher priority ad. But we'll talk about that on Monday. We'll have that released for you on Tuesday. So yeah, so we'll bring that to you. So let's go ahead and kind of well any final thoughts for this game from you?
If you are a Darius Slayton believer and you became discouraged tonight, don't fret. Darius Slay was on Darius Slayton a lot of the game. I know Sterling Shepard came back and everyone considers him the one. I still think going forward, Darius Slayton is the guy Daniel Jones has the most trust in. I thought Darius Slayton last year, he got real hot. That was just his rookie campaign. He's looked pretty good this year. I think he's been like a borderline wide receiver 2-3. So if you're a little discouraged with your Slayton play tonight, keep faith. I think you'll have better matchups going forward. I think Daniel Jones is going to get better. So don't lose faith in Slayton yet. He's still a player you're going to want on your team.
Agreed. So let's go ahead and go into our next segment here, which is going to be Week 7 early lines. So we're going to talk about. I'm going to talk about my favorite one here, and then I'll let you go first. Are there any lines that you're
No,
looking at right
I'll
now?
let you go first in case there's
Eh,
yeah, no.
me personally, I mean, I do like Atlanta -2. I do like that. Uh,
Ruh-roh.
I like Atlanta -2 just because this is the reason why. When Julio plays on this team, I think that they're just a obviously much better offensive team. They've had games where they've blown leads for sure, but that least scoring and getting up on teams. So me personally, I'm not a big believer in Detroit's defense here. So I think that they can get out ahead, and I think it's going to definitely be kind of a shootout type of game. And I think Atlanta wins by like 3 points at the end of the game. So -2, and it keeps going down is the thing. It started at 3 and it keeps going down. So.
Well, that's because the smart money knows where to put it. And, I just think Detroit can win this game. I think they're a much better team with Kenny Golladay. I can completely understand where you're coming from because the Lions defense has not been where they're cracked up to be. Matt Patricia's here. We're going to bring that New England culture, fellers. No, hasn't been there. They've been really lackluster against the run. Todd Gurley's actually getting hot. You got Julio healthy, Ridley out there. They don't have Darius Slay anymore. I can totally see them keeping it close. I think I wrote in my DFS article that, even if the Lions get up, I see Falcons being able to keep it close.
Yeah.
So I could totally agree with you on that one. Like Falcons -2, that's not bad. The one I like right now is actually San Francisco +2.5. So San Francisco is playing Patriots.
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to beat them straight up. If you want to play it safe to 2.5, do it. But I thought Jimmy G looked pretty good last game. I was very surprised that New England couldn't do anything against Denver.
Yeah.
The offense was really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And New England's given up, I think it was like 1 or 2 rushing touchdowns all season. This is a team that knows how to run the ball. If they're going to game plan for George Kittle, if they're going to try to take their best player out of the game, which I would say is George Kittle, they're going to be running reverses with Debo. They're going to – it doesn't even matter if Mostert plays. Like, it really doesn't, because I think that they are just so good at running the ball. They have such a good scheme. It's just going to be too much for New England. I wasn't impressed with that offense. New England's best game this year was against Seattle, and they lost. Like, I'm not a big believer in the fact that they're underdogs in this game. Yeah, I'm gonna go San Fran +2.5.
One other game I do like. I do like the Packers as well. I think it's like +3.5. I think for them, and I think that. Well, I'm painting a narrative here. I'm not doing facts yet. Like Sunday's really when I go over my facts and all that kind of stuff, where I look into this a little bit more. But it's early-ish still, right? But +3.5, I like that because I'm not a huge believer in Houston. Like, I know that the past 2 games they've looked pretty well. Like, they had a chance to beat Tennessee, but I'm also kind of in Tennessee. Like, I think that they're a good team, but their defense has given up a ton of yards this year. So, me personally, I just think like Packers are pissed off. They got embarrassed. I feel like they just come in here and kind of steamroll them a little bit. And I'll take the 3.5 points. I think they'll win by like a touchdown here, but it'll be close. But I think they'll pull away at the end. And I think Aaron Jones should go off in this game, at least in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
as an Aaron Jones owner this year, I cannot. And after watching Derrick Henry do what he did to them, I cannot wait. Can't wait.
What about any others? I want to talk about this real quick because you did talk about DFS, like the Atlanta game. Are you considering like because there's a lot of stacking options in that game. Like, that's probably one of my favorite games this weekend, DFS wise, because you can really go to either side of the ball, right? And I think ownership's going to be down on Stafford because I feel like he burned people last week. So I think people are going to be more hesitant to play him this week. But this is even better than matchup than last week. So I feel like that's going to be a good play with Kenny Golladay. And then you can go on the other side, Julio, even Todd Gurley. Like, I just think there's so many options here.
Bingo. I can't agree more. So I felt like Stafford last week was a very chalky play. And it seems like when it comes to like quarterbacks on teams people don't really trust, I would consider the Lions one of those teams. if you get burnt by him once, it's like, no,
Right.
I'm not doing that again, especially not the next week. But like you just said, like the Falcons are an even better matchup than the Jaguars. So and I said earlier, I think the Falcons offense is better than the Jags. So even if
Yeah.
Detroit got up, 2 touchdowns in the first, I think the Falcons have the firepower to get back in the game.
Right.
And no, I think you're absolutely right. I wouldn't be scared to stack the whole entire game. Like, oh,
Right.
look, I'm gonna go Matt Stafford, DeAndre Swift, Todd
Right.
Gurley,
I didn't
Calvin
even mention
Ridley,
DeAndre
Julio,
Swift.
Galladay.
Right.
Like, go play whoever the hell you want in that game. You're probably gonna do just fine.
Right.
I think you'll do just. Hey, DeAndre Swift, he may have a great game again. I mean, they came out of the bye. They look like they want to use him more. I know they've been using Adrian Peterson a lot, but I think they just want to be able to run the ball. And if they do get ahead in that game, I expect Swift to be on the field a lot more.
Agreed. So let's go into our next segment here real quick, and let's talk about kind of like what do you expect for these players? Because a lot of buzz around these people. So I'm going to go into a couple here, and then I'll switch it off to you here. So the first one for me, and I've kind of talked about it before, is Le'Veon Bell. In my opinion, if I'm a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner, like I'm really not that worried, especially after last week. I think he looked really good and he kind of proved himself. Um, I think Le'Veon's definitely going to be involved, but I feel like he's going to be more of their like pass catching. And I think that there's even going to be times where both of them will be on the field together. Like I think Le'Veon's just a really good receiving back, so they could do that definitely. But I don't like see him this being like a 50-50 split. So if you have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like don't panic. I think everything's going to be fine. This is the best offense in the NFL, so you'll still have a ton of points. And Le'Veon, believe me, I was a Steelers fan. He looked spent his last year in Pittsburgh. He did not look good. And then he goes plays for the Jets, and people are like, "Oh, he played for the Jets. That's why he was bad." No, he kind of looked just done. Like he was getting 400 touches a year in Pittsburgh because they were running him into the ground because they're like, "We're not going to pay this dude. Let's just run him into the ground," and that's what they were doing. So that's just my opinion. What do you? Any take on that? Do you disagree?
Well, I don't disagree. I just think it's a coin toss. Like this could easily be a 60-40, 65-35 split, and Williams is just out of the picture. But what you said about like the two running back set, I think this is gonna just make Andy Reid, lose his mind. He's gonna be so
Right.
happy. He has these two guys who can both be in the backfield, who can do the same exact thing, and I just think it's going to be a nightmare for defenses. I think they're just going to use them how they want. And I think this is kind of similar to the situation that's going on in Indianapolis, where they really don't want to have to give their rookie too many carries. They don't want to run him into the ground. I think Kansas City was expecting Damian Williams. I think Indianapolis was expecting to have Marlon Mack.
Right.
So I don't think the hype – so there's a lot of hype that Bell's just going to be like, oh, yeah, 14, 15, 16 points every week. I don't think so. I think he's going to be a boom-bust kind of guy. I think he'll have a decent floor, but it might be as low as like 8-10 points a week. I don't know. But if I agree with you. If you're a CH owner, like they don't want to run him into the ground. Week 1, last week, that might be like the ceiling. But those are good games, so don't be too worried. I think he's still going to be a viable RB1 going forward, even with Bell.
Agreed. What about your boy DeAndre Swift? What's your expectation for him going forward?
Oh yeah, they didn't draft him this high for nothing.
Right.
He's obviously a better catcher than Kerryon Johnson and AP. If Detroit is playing behind in games, I think Swift will be out there more. The one thing I don't quite understand is why Matt Patricia loves Adrian Peterson. I loved Adrian Peterson. I love 2006 Adrian Peterson. I don't know if I like 2020 Adrian Peterson.
Right.
But what they need to do is make sure that Swift's getting involved, gaining confidence. After week 1 with that drop, I think that kind of shook him. But this bye week was perfect 2 weeks ago. It came out, looked like he was more part of the game plan. He had a couple of long runs, one for a touchdown. I expect Swift going forward to be more of a 16, 15 touches, whether it's rushes, catches going forward. So if somehow someone dropped him, go pick him up. I think he will be someone you want going forward. I think he'll be a viable RB2, RB3 going forward.
I agree. I think I kind of talked about him in my buy sell. Like I think a lot of people are trying to sell high on him, which if people are, like, be a smooth negotiator. Like don't buy high. Kind of talk him down. Like, I know what you're doing, but definitely buy into it, because honestly, I think he has like top 15 potential. Like that's how much potential he has in this situation. He will be involved in the pass. Like you said, he's the best passing down uh, running back that they have. And I think going forward, he'll even be more involved in touches because he looks like the best back. I don't get why Matt Patricia must just trust Adrian Peterson, but when it comes to you need a win, he doesn't put you in the best spot. And I think, like you said with the running backs with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they want to ease him in. They don't want to load him up with a bunch of carries. So I think as the year goes on, he gets more and more involved, and they just don't overload him. So if you drafted him, you kind of weren't expecting him right away to be great. You kind of expected like week 6, and that time he'll start to be better and better. And I think this is definitely the time where if you can get him, go out and get him for sure. Well, I'm just gonna go over this one real quick because it's my boy, dude. So Austin Eckler, right? Big news came out that this is more severe than they let on in the first place. So Austin Eckler, I honestly think might be close to like missing the whole year. Like I think that's how bad it is. Like the football doc said that at first glance he thought he tore. I don't know if it was like his hamstring or which one of them. And then they came out and said it wasn't as bad. Now they're saying it's pretty severe. So honestly, I think he might be gone for a long time here, possibly for the year. So if you own Justin Jackson, or if you have the opportunity to go out and get Justin Jackson, go out and get him. Even Josh Kelly, because say something happens to Justin Jackson, now the whole backfield's to Joshua Kelly. So one of those two guys, I think probably you could buy lower on Joshua Kelly due to Monday night. So me personally, go out and buy one of those guys because I honestly think that Austin Eckler is going to be out for quite some time. So just my take. And then I'm going to leave it to you. You go ahead, Christian Kirk. Go ahead. You go ahead.
Guys, anyone who watches this video, you're going to love me. Christian Kirk is going to be the guy. Not over Hopkins, obviously, but the guy everyone slept on after watching what he did last year. He is the number 2 wide receiver in Arizona. He's their deep threat guy. He's their big play guy. Larry Fitzgerald is old as time, okay? His knees are dust. He can't do anything but just catch a 5-yard dump and then pat the guy on the helmet saying, good tackle. Christian Kirk, I know it was a fingertip grab. It was so nice. He got that long bomb from Kyler. That's what Kyler wants. He needs this guy where when he breaks out of, when he rolls out, when he needs to make a play, that's his guy on a broken defense. He's going to bomb it out to. I think Christian Kirk is going to be a solid wide receiver moving forward. I don't want to go as high as wide receiver 3 quite yet. Mm-hmm. But if he's out there, if he's available, I think you need to pick him up immediately. And I think this week, going against Seattle, who has an abysmal pass defense, they've given up a ton of yards, not a lot of touchdowns. I think they've given up 8 on the season. But still, Christian Kirk against this defense, I think it's a no-brainer right now. He's a hot hand 2 weeks in a row, looking very good. So Christian Kirk going forward, I'm very high on him. I'm very bullish. I think he's going to be a stud going forward.
I could definitely see it too. I mean, they just run so many plays as is. They're like one of the highest
high octane offense, man.
Yeah, they run so many plays, so it's like no huddle constantly for them. So I agree, just the opportunities there. Last takes, I guess, because we didn't talk about him. We have to talk about him real quick. This is the last player, and then we'll be done. Okay, last player here, Antonio Brown. Okay. If you picked him up, and I said this the other day, if you picked him up, go and try to sell him, because there's going to be some person out there that's like, dude, he could be a wide receiver 1, like on Seattle. Like, dude, he could be so good. But then you also have to take into fact, they have Tyler Lockett. They have DK Metcalf. Where does he fit in? He hasn't played football, has to learn a brand new offense. I'm not down his skill, because I think he could be very good, but it's also – especially if he goes there, so like I just don't see the opportunity. And if he goes somewhere else, where does he go? Did they actually sign him is the other thing. Does he get signed? This is all speculation right now. So pick him up, try to sell him, because I think that somebody would honestly buy him, and then you're just getting like a free asset, in my opinion. So what do you think about him?
Yeah, I say first guy who texts you going, "You're so lucky you got Antonio Brown." You start trying to trade that guy immediately.
Immediately.
Because we know he's a headache, right? No one's going to question his talent. He's
Right.
too good for these cornerbacks. He's one of the best wide receivers I've ever watched, okay?
Mhm.
But this is kind of like the Terrell Owens effect. Like, he's been away from the game a little bit. You know, he's kind of a cancer coming into the locker room.
Or even
And
Josh Gordon, the same thing, right?
Exactly. You know, no one questions Josh Gordon's talent. It's just, where's your head at, bud?
Right.
So let's say Antonio Brown gets his shit together and he's playing on the team, right? He's not the second option. His talent should make him one or two, but he's not the second option. He's not going to come in, leapfrog Tyler Lockett or DK Metcalf.
Right.
So what does he have potential to be a viable starter in the league? Maybe in a 12-14 team format if you have no wide receivers. But realistically, I don't know. I think I'd rather have Christian Kirk over the boy Antonio Brown right now.
There's a lot of people that I would definitely have. I'd rather have over him, because number one, it's just speculation, and if he does sign, I don't think he's going to be that effective. I mean, I know the talent, but especially if he goes to Seattle, and Russell Wilson said that he deserves a second chance. So I feel like they're kind of pushing him hard right now. And I just don't see it. Like, there's too many mouths to feed them, because then you even have Chris Carson in the backfield. Like, there's just too many good players. They're not like a true passing down team. They really don't even, I don't like it. No, thanks. I'm out. So that's it. Any other last takes here?
Hey, just don't lose faith on Darius Slayton or Evan Ingram.
Yes, both very talented players. Just the offensive line. That's honestly what's holding them back. And I don't even think it's really Daniel Jones. It's just the offensive line, and he has to make plays at times, and it just can't happen. So I agree. With that being said, if you did like this content, please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Go to Thrive Fantasy. Sign up today. Use code ASPIRE. They will match your deposit up to $50. Free money. Who doesn't like free money, right? So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.